Grading every single week 3 box score, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we do this every single week. We grade the box scores, see which wins were true, which ones were fugazi. Okay, Thursday night. This one I think will be fine. I think Green Bay won this handily. Yeah, they did. So 22 first downs to 15, 404 yards to 230, yards per play 6.4 to 3.5. Yeah, I mean, this was a dominant performance. No turnovers on either side. You know, it's crazy. Washington now. You wonder how hurt Jaden Daniels was during this game, but what made Washington so good was their ability to run the ball effectively on third down, fourth down, third and short, fourth and short, whatever, with Jaden Daniels. I didn't see a lot of that. Now that we know that his knee was hurt, obviously that's probably why. But yeah, I mean, Green Bay dominated the game. Deserved winners for sure. All right, 49ers Saints. Let's go. Let's see here. Okay, 49ers Saints. We've got 23 first downs for the I already know this one because we covered it, but the Niners definitely deserved to win this game, but it was a close game, and it played out like that. So 23 first downs to 21, 344 yards, 307, 5.1 yards per play to 4.6, rushing 3 yards a rush to 4, penalties were about even, turnovers were even, time of possession was even. So the Niners were better. I mean, you know, they were 0.5, half a yards per play better per play, a little bit better on first down, a little bit more yards. And when you're a little bit better in every single facet of the game, there's no turnovers are balanced out and the time of possession is balanced out. This is what happens. You know, you win a close game. Now, could the Saints have won this game? Absolutely. But close game across the board. The big difference is this. The 49ers were 8 for 15 on third down, and at one point were 8 for 12 on third down up until the end there when the Saints had to get some stops. So, you know, I mean, that's a tough one. Tough one for Saints fans because it's so similar to the first week. All right, Bengals, Jags. Now, these get a little weird because of the injuries, but, okay, so Bengals win the game 31-27. Tough look for Trevor Lawrence. Again, man, he just can't get out of his own way. The Jacksonville defense did them no favors, obviously. Jacksonville struggling per usual. First downs, 24-21 Bengals. Third downs were about even. Total yards, 350 to 400, pretty even. Yards per play, 5.4 to 5.7. So at this point right now, it's like, all right, Jacksonville probably should have won this game. Let's continue. Sacks, doesn't really matter. Yards per rush, 5.1 Jacksonville, 2.8 Cincy. Cincy's having trouble running the ball. Shout out to all my Chase Brown fantasy owners. Red zone, 3 for 6, 3 for 4. Turnovers, 3 for Cincinnati, 2 for Jacksonville, 2 interceptions thrown. Yeah, I mean, this one is kind of, and Jacksonville had 7 more minutes of possession. Well, 6.5. This is, yeah, I mean, just looking at this, yeah, Jacksonville should have won the game. You know, you have more plays, more yards, better YPP. You win the turnover battle, +1. You have 5.1 yards to carry to their 2.8. Yeah, I would say this is a fringe. It's not like insane. You know, 5.7 yards per play, 5.4, 400 and 350. It's not crazy, but you win the turnover battle. You win the time of possession by a lot. You can run the football, and they cannot. Probably should win the game. So this probably should be flipped. Jacksonville probably should have won 31-27, something like that. Actually, what it probably should be is 27-24. It should be Jacksonville 27-24. That's how this should have played out. All right, so there you go. That's our first fake one. Giants Cowboys, insane game. This was nuts. I mean, you talk about back and forth, overtime. You had two scores in the final, whatever it was, minute. Then you had 3 rounds of possessions for overtime, which never happens. Brandon Aubrey, 64-yard field goal to tie it. Then another field goal to win it. Crazy, man. Everything was in play here. So this is going to be a bananas and pajamas box score. And sometimes, too, in these games, when things go haywire, when things go ballistic, the box score goes ballistic. And you start seeing stuff where it's like, okay, I mean, these numbers are so inflated. They're so out of control. Like, what do I even do with them? First downs, Dallas had 32-22. Total plays, Dallas had 83-65. Total yards, 506 to 478. Yards per play, the Giants had 2 yards per play more than Dallas, 5.8 to 7.8. Passing, 422 to 343. Sacks are even. Rushing, relatively even. Dallas was a little bit better on the ground, 135, 4.8 yards a carry to 4. Penalties, 14 penalties. I know at one point the Giants had 4 penalties on the same drive by the same player. I think it was the first drive of the game. 12 penalties and 14 penalties. Turnovers were even. Time of possession, Dallas has 5 minutes more time of possession. It is very difficult to look at the 2 yards per play different and to not say that the Giants should have won this game. You know, if you have better than 2 yards per play, I mean, that is a lot. Like, that is a whole lot more than your opponent. So, yeah, I mean, the Giants probably should have won this game. It is close, though. I mean, the yards per play is not close, but the rest of it's right there. I mean, Dallas has 10 more first downs. They have almost 20 more plays. But less yards and the same amount of drives, basically, is crazy. But, yeah, I mean, the Giants should have won this game for sure. And, you know, whenever you tie the game with a 64-yard field goal, most of the time, you're not supposed to win that game. So I think the Giants probably should have won that one. Okay. Next up, Bears-Lions. This was a dominant performance here. Chicago, man, struggling. Ben Johnson, revenge game. He knows all the secrets about Detroit. He knows the inner workings of Detroit, LMAO. Caleb Williams, struggling. Okay, Chicago was supposed to be, you know, this next insane offense. Ben Johnson's a genius. Colston Loveland, whatever. Just haven't seen it yet. Detroit 25-19 first downs. Also, whenever you get to blowouts, the numbers can kind of be skewed as well. Something to think about. But 511 yards to 339. Oof. Same amount of drives. 8.8 yards per play to 5.3. 3.5 yards per play better. That is insane. That is crazy. Rushing 5.9 to 5. Red zone 6 for 7 and 2 for 2. Penalties. The Bears continue to have penalty issues, and the Bears lose a turnover battle. Yeah, I mean, this should have been a 30-point game, and it was a 30-point game. You give up 3. You have a 3 yards per play discrepancy, and you lose the turnover battle by 2. Yeah, you're gonna get blown out. So that is a deserved blowout from the Chicago Bears. All right, Rams Titans. I think this one was pretty decisive as well. Let's see. Rams 22 first downs to 18, 59 plays to 64, 439 to 252. Damn. 7.4 yards per play to 3.9. Okay. I mean, that's all right. Yards per pass 3.8. I'm pretty sure Cam Ward's yards per pass the first game was 1.8. So he's had 1.8 yards per pass and 3.8. Not good. Rushing 6 yards a rush to 4.2. Penalties. Titans have a ton of penalties here. Kind of expected with a rookie quarterback and, you know, young team, I guess. Turnovers were even. 1-1. Time of possession, even. So, yeah, I mean, the Rams should have won this game by quite a bit when you have that much more YPP. So, these so far have been pretty easy. Patriots, Dolphins. All right. Patriots, Dolphins. Dolphins played last night on Thursday Night Football. Looked a whole lot better. They had a team meeting or whatever. So, you know, it's moral victories don't really happen in the NFL, but for the Dolphins, I guess they can say, hey, we played hard on Thursday night. All right, 18 first downs for the Patriots, 16 for the Dolphins. Total plays 55 to 52. Yards 333 to 358. Yards per play 6.1 to 6.9. Dolphins win that one. Yards per pass is about the same. Rushing, about the same. 4.2 yards per rush to 4.1. Penalties, 12 penalties and 10 penalties. A lot of penalties in this game. Turnovers. Dolphins lose a turnover battle, and a defensive / special teams touchdown for both sides balances out. Rare to see that. 33 minutes of possession for New England, 26 minutes. So a lot more possession for New England. I mean, this is pretty close. This is right there. I mean, Miami wins the YPP by 0.8. They win the yards by 25. They lose the first downs, but they lose the critical turnover battle, and that's what swung it. I mean, this is a close game, but in a close game, if you're -1 in the turnover battle, you lose the game like, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just if you lose a turnover battle, you lose the game like 70% of the time or 65% of the time or something. So this is relatively true. Maybe it should have been a little bit closer, but you can't lose a turnover battle there. Miami's got a real Tua issue, man. I don't think it's McDaniel. I think it's Tua. All right, Bills, Jets. This one, Justin Fields, one of the worst performances of all time. 3 for 11, 27 yards. Just horrible. 5 carries, 49 yards. At least he ran the ball. But Tyrod Taylor had to play, and then he's playing this week as well. I will say, though, so the Jets play caller comes from Detroit, the Detroit system. Tyrod Taylor fits that way better than Justin Fields. So I would not be surprised at all if the Jets played better in the passing attack than they have been, just because Tyrod's going to get the ball out quick. So I wouldn't be surprised at all there. I don't think it's a downgrade. First downs 25 to 11. Total yards 403 to 154. Yards per play 5.7 to 3.3. Yards per rush 5.2 to 4.8. Penalties about the same. Turnovers, Jets also lost turnover battle. Oh, and the Jets lost time of possession by 17 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, this actually probably should have been an even bigger win for the Bills when you're looking at, 2.4 yards per play discrepancy. You're looking at 250 total yards discrepancy. You're looking at 14 first downs discrepancy and 17 minutes time possession discrepancy. So that one could have got way worse. But, backups start playing, and it is what it is. So definitely should have been a blowout there. Seahawks, Steelers. Seahawks go West Coast, East Coast. Back when Pete Carroll was the coach of the Seahawks, they were really, really good at that, going West Coast, East Coast, playing early. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they utilized some of those tactics. I have no idea. But the travel did not concern. By the way, the Steelers. Did you know the Steelers are the worst rated defense in the NFL? Now, I say that because they played the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, when you're the worst rated defense in the NFL, one of the games was against the Jets, that means you're probably even worse than the numbers are saying, because the Jets are horrible, right? So, okay, let's go to the team stats here. 21 first downs for the Seahawks, 13 for the Steelers. 395 total yards for the Seahawks, 267 for the Steelers, 6.2 yards per play to 4.5, rushing 4 to 3.4. Turnovers were even 2 and 2, and the Seahawks also get a defensive special teams touchdown. Time possession is relatively close. This one, Seahawks should have won this one. Even like the defensive special teams touchdowns usually is one of those things where it's like, oh, is it lucky? Oh, is it this? Oh, is it that? Really didn't even matter, and it shows it. Where like if you take that away, they still win this game. A lot going against Pittsburgh in this one. But first downs, Seahawks. Total yards, Seahawks. YPP, Seahawks. Rushing, Seahawks. Defensive special teams touchdowns, Seahawks. Time possession, Seahawks. So, yeah, the Seahawks deserved this win for sure. All right, let's keep it moving. Steelers, though, they got to get the defense figured out. You cannot be the worst defense in the NFL when you play the Jets. All right, Browns, Ravens. Browns, 17. It was 41-17 game. 17-14. Browns had more first downs. Already kind of like, wait, what? Total plays. Browns 72. Ravens 53. Total yards 323 to 242. So the Browns have more yards, more first downs, more plays, which more plays you could say, okay, that's why. Because then you look at the YPP, Browns lose YPP 4.5 to 4.6, but still close. So right now, it certainly is not a 41-17 game. Third down, the Ravens were 3 for 12. Browns were 7 for 18. Interesting. Rushing, damn, how the Ravens win? This is crazy. This is a crazy box score. Rushing, 115 to 45. Yards per rush, 5.2 to 2.1. The Browns are favored there. The Browns had 115 yards rushing. The Browns had 5.2 yards per a carry. Penalties, even. Turnovers, Browns were -2. They had 2 turnovers. The Ravens didn't have any. And then the Ravens had a defensive special team touchdown. Time possession, Browns win that too. I mean, there you go. Like, that's it. The reason the Ravens won this game is they were +2 in the turnover battle, and they had a defensive special team touchdowns. That's it. That's the whole thing. But until that point, the Browns probably should have been winning this game. And they lose by 24, quick math. Crazy how these box scores like tell a different story sometimes. But, you know, you could argue that up until this point, up until the turnovers and all that stuff, you could say, okay, this is a close game, right? Like 17-14 first downs, 323 to 242 yards, 4.5 YPP to 4.6. You know, the rushing is definitely in Cleveland's favor. Time possession 31 to 28. You could say, okay, close game. And if you have a close game and one team goes -2 in turnover and they give up a defensive special team touchdown, that's going to certainly swing it in the other team's favor. I don't know if this game should have been a 24-point loss. That seems like a lot, but interesting box score there. I didn't think it was going to be that close. Shows you, man, turnovers and those kind of plays like really swing games. Broncos Colts. Okay, interesting game here too. Broncos probably should have won this game. Some absolute trickeration by the referees at the end of this gives Indy another chance at a field goal. We all know what happened. 26 first downs for Indy, 23 for Denver. 67 plays for Indy, 54 for Denver. 473 yards for Indy, 324 for Denver. 7.1 yards per play for Indy, 6 yards per play for Denver. Right now, Indy's certainly winning the box score. Rushing, 167 for Indy, 118 for Denver, 5.2 yards a carry for Indy, 4.9 for Denver. 11 penalties to 8. Denver loses the turnover battle by 1, and they lose time of possession by 5. So, yeah, Indy actually should have won this game. Totally fine. Actually, close game. I mean, some of these numbers are close. Yards per plays, a full yard. So Indy's a full yard better on YPP and +1 in the turnover battle. Yeah, Indy should have won this game and probably shouldn't have been this close. This is probably closer, like a 3-point game, somewhere in there. So Indy was more decisive than I thought they were going to be honest. I thought because of the way the game ended and all that stuff, I was thinking, okay, well, Denver will probably win the box score, but not the case. Panthers, Cardinals. All right, Panthers, Cardinals. Now this game, blowout. It was 27-9 at one point in the second half. Kyler Murray throws an insane interception in the red zone, changes everything. This box score is going to be all jacked up because of the blowout factor, and then all of a sudden it's a game on the last possession. But here we go. Carolina, 26 first downs to 16. Total plays, 48-77. That is nuts. Total yards, 293 for Arizona, 352 for Carolina. Yards per play, 6.1 Arizona, 4.6 for Carolina. All right, so big discrepancy there. Arizona has the YPP, which no one should be surprised about. We go to rushing, 49 yards rushing for Carolina, 82 yards rushing for Arizona, 3.7 yards of rush for Arizona, 2.6 for Carolina. Neither were great on the ground. 12 penalties for Arizona. A ton of those were late. I was watching the game after coming back from the Saints game, and it was just rough in the passer, defensive holding. It was just nonstop. Turnovers. Arizona has a super costly one in the red zone that lets Carolina get back into the game. Oh, and Carolina recovered an onside kick, by the way. Who does that anymore? Carolina loses the turnover battle, though, by 1. Arizona does have the defensive special team touchdown on the first play of the game, I think, was a fumble return for a touchdown. And then 33 minutes for Carolina, 26 minutes for Arizona. Most of the fourth quarter and all those shenanigans. This Arizona absolutely should have won this game. And, you know, sometimes when you're doing these box scores, like, there is context of how the game is playing. Like, when it's 27-9, you have to, like, weight Carolina's numbers differently because it's a blowout, right? Well, then you have to shift that back to just normal weight for the last bit of the game, because all of a sudden it's a one possession game right after they get the onside kick. So that one's a tricky one because of the context of the game, but for all intents and purposes, Arizona absolutely should have won the game. Eagles Chiefs, all right, low scoring, kind of a slugfest game, 20-17. Philly wins. Box score 16-17 in favor of the Chiefs. Total plays 57-58 in favor of the Eagles. Total yards 294-216 in favor of the Chiefs. Yards per play 5.2 for the Chiefs, 3.7 for the Eagles. So pretty big discrepancy there. Rushing about the same, 122-121, 4.7 yards a rush for the Chiefs, 3.6 for the Eagles. Penalties both had 6. The Chiefs lose a turnover battle, and this is another one where, you know, just because I was watching the game, I know where it was, but this turnover happened in the end zone. This turnover happens. Travis Kelce's going to catch like a slant route, probably score a touchdown, bounces off of his hands, goes into the defender's hands. So, yeah, it's one turnover, but it's also a turnover. Like, if this turnover doesn't happen, they're scoring on the play. If he catches it, they score on the play. All right, so it's like double the turnover. And the Eagles one-time possession, they usually do. But, you know, this game, the Chiefs probably should have won this game. The YPP and the yards and all that stuff, because I know where the turnover was. It's like, all right, close game, but you turn the ball over in the end zone like that. Eagles probably should have won the game, but this was a super, super close game, super, super close box score, and the Eagles got away with one here. But what this absolutely was not, it absolutely was not Philadelphia dominating this game or Philadelphia going and winning this game. This was definitely more of the Chiefs losing the game than the Eagles winning it. But super close game. I mean, that's like a 50-50 box score. But like I said, you have a 50-50 box score with a turnover. Usually the team that turns it over loses. Falcons, Vikings. All right, two teams. Ugly game to watch right here. Falcons win 22-6, 19 first downs to 10 in favor of the Falcons. 63 plays from the Falcons, 46 from the Vikings, 326 yards from the Falcons, 198 yards from the Vikings, 5.2 yards per play for the Falcons, 4.3 yards per play for the Vikings. So Falcons win by almost a yard there. Rushing, Falcons run for 5.6 yards a carry, Vikings 4.1. Falcons had 218 yards on the ground. Penalties 5 for the Falcons, 8 for the Vikings. Turnovers, here you go. 4 turnovers for the Vikings, 1 for the Falcons. So the Falcons were +3. The Falcons also had the ball for 13 more minutes, which is, you know, because they were running the ball for 218 yards. So this one's fine. This one is exactly what it should be. Time of possession, yards per play, first downs, run for 200 yards, and you're +3 in the turnover battle. That sounds good to me. 22-6, about right. All right, now we go to the Monday night doubleheader. Bucs, Texans. I think Houston's going to be hard done here. Let's see. That's my guess. 25 first downs for Tampa. Houston had 12. Total plays, 72 for Tampa, 46 for Houston. So Tampa almost runs 30 more plays. Total yards, 360-266. Yards per play, Houston wins yards per play, 5.8 to 5. Rushing, Tampa had 169 yards rushing for 5.6 yards a rush compared to Houston's 4.4. Penalties, 7 penalties for Tampa, 6 for Houston. No turnovers for either team. Tampa had the ball for 15 more minutes. This is about right. This is about right. I think. Okay, what's going on here? I think you give the time of possession. I mean, 15 minutes is crazy. Um, I, 0.8 YPP for Houston. I don't think balances out losing first downs by 13 and total plays by almost 30 and total yards by 100. So I think it's okay here to say that this probably went the correct way. Super close, but I mean, again, it was 2019. So super close game ends up with a super close score. Sometimes that's how it works. And the last game, Chargers-Raiders. I think the Chargers dominated this one, if I remember. Yeah, 15-15 first downs, 317 yards to 218, 5.8 yards per play for the Chargers to 3.4 yards per play to the Raiders. That's pretty. I mean, 3.4 yards per play is really bad. 2.4 yards per play difference. And now here comes the big stuff. 3 turnovers for the Raiders, 3 interceptions, 1 turnover for the Chargers. So they win the turnover margin by 2. They are 2.4 yards better in YPP. So that's a win. Like that's those two numbers. Like if those two correlate like that, if one team has a big time YPP advantage, anything over a yard, I would say is like big time. A big time YPP advantage. And +2 in the turnover, you're going to win. You're that almost always you're going to win. And they did, and they had more yards. They, so across the board here, Chargers definitely should have won this game. So, all right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is the quick, 30 minutes, grading every single box score for week 2. All right, so the Browns were one where it's like, how did this happen? But All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.